election of Donald Trump. And the Fortune 100 lining up to give the lowest gifts were $2 million up to $50 million apiece. Kellogg's famously gave $3 million, pulled their advertising off of Breitbart. Well, good, I don't buy Kellogg's. This is an economic war. This is a culture war. And when Trump enforces a law that Obama signed in 2013, the media lies and says it's a Muslim ban. 87% can still come in. These are countries like Sudan, again, that only have military airports, that are launching wars in the South, killing Christians. How would anybody take unvetted people with their fake passports from Sudan? You can't go to Sudan. I mean, you've got a good chance of being kidnapped and killed. You definitely can't go to Somalia. I know high-level journalists that say it's basically a death wish. No one gets in now. No one. No one. You've got to have armored vehicles, helicopter support to go into there. Oh, let's just let someone fly here from Somalia. So again, they take a normal response, because the last 3 years, Obama ordered the borders open, ordered basically no vetting. The Border Patrol's on record. People have TB. People have leprosy. And they let them in. I remember I was told 3 years ago by Border Patrol, we're being told to let leprosy in. It's now in Texas and Florida. And I said, no, it's my dad's like, that's incredible. He made some calls to medical folks. They go, yeah, how do you know that? It's under Homeland Security. We've got patients in Dallas. We got patients in Miami. We got patients in L.A. with leprosy. Then they put them in school with kids, and it spread all over L.A. Kids will have leprosy for life, untreatable, folks. You cannot make up the magnitude, and Trump goes, whoa, we're going to have borders. This is what globalism is pushing, is the end of our borders, and they freak out. Then there's an Islamic attack killing 6 people, and the prime minister comes out and says, we want more refugees. This was an attack on Muslims by terrorists. It was one sect attacking another sect. The biggest victim of Islam are Muslims. So here's Paul Watson's report on what really happened with this, and we're going to get Matt Bracken's breakdown on this, but I now have no doubt they're not going to capitulate to the Bill of Rights, the Constitution, the electoral process, our elected president. They're not going to give in to somebody that wants to cut their taxes and make the country great again and bring us together. They're going to go into high gear now, as you saw with that women's march. It was about 1 million. They're going to lie on every front to make the debate about their lies so we can't get our agenda done. So how do you balance exposing their lies while moving forward with our agenda? You hit them, you expose their lies, you move on. Because they're already discredited. I kept wondering, why do they keep getting more discredited? Because all they can do is pick an argument to divert us as a smokescreen. But again, how do you balance that? Because new listeners and people don't know about the lies. That he didn't, people still say he threw Martin Luther King's bus in the trash can. And Trump couldn't even believe they lie that bad. He called up and he said, who did that? When he was out at, at an event, they said, sir, we didn't. It's right here. And they went back to the actual videos of when they said it, and there it was. It was never taken out. But see, Trump even got hit by the lie and bought it. Where is the bust? Sir, it's right here. Again, normal people don't lie like this. You see, they lie even when it would serve them better not to, because they know they have no credibility. We'll talk to Matt Bracken here in a moment. But here's Paul Watson's report. It's important. It's on infowars.com. Please get it out to everyone you know. It's the truth about Trump's Muslim ban.
Donald Trump in doing what he said he would do. Shocker.
That All Lives Matter crowd real quiet today on the Muslim ban.
Here are the top 5 countries with the largest Muslim population. You'll notice that not a single Muslim from these countries is banned from entering the United States. Because it's not a Muslim ban. It's a ban based on a list of terror-linked countries that was created by the Obama administration. Oh, you didn't know that. You just swallowed the frothing hysteria generated by the mainstream media yet again. Where were the protests? Where was the outrage when Obama banned all Iraqi refugees from entering the US for 6 months back in 2011? Twice the amount of time they're banned for under this Trump executive order. 6 times Obama banned migrants from mostly Muslim countries, and you were completely silent. Obama spent 8 years dropping tens of thousands of bombs on Muslim countries, and you said absolutely nothing. He armed the jihadists who were responsible for creating the civil war in Syria that led to the refugee crisis, and most of you supported that. But Trump stops a handful of them from entering the US, and he's the dangerous racist Islamophobe. Despite the fact that refugee admissions under Trump over the course of 2017, around 50,000, will be in line with those admitted under previous administrations. You said nothing about Obama arming Saudi Arabia to slaughter Yemenis Yet now you're suddenly all concerned over Yemeni refugees. Give me a break. But Chuck Schumer's crying over Muslim migrants.
This executive order was mean-spirited and un-American.
After he supported the attack on Libya that led directly to the deaths of thousands of Muslim migrants. And how many of you virtue-signaling celebrity twats have actually read the executive order?
President Donald Trump seems to have made me an alien.
No, the executive order contains an exemption for individuals like you, athletes or politicians, for example, to be allowed to enter the country. Again, read the frigging text before amplifying the hysterical backlash that is based on media manipulation and total delusion.
Statistics. Just 2 Americans killed annually by Islamic jihadist immigrants.
Okay, so one, you've conveniently only included up until 2014, leaving out the 2015 San Bernardino attack, where 14 Americans were killed by Tashfeen Malik, an Islamic jihadist immigrant. And here's another 20 vetted refugees who turned to terrorism after being allowed to enter America. And 2, the reason why less Americans than Europeans have been killed by Islamic jihadist immigrants is because, unlike Europe, America hasn't welcomed in millions of potential Islamic jihadist immigrants.
President Trump's ban on refugees and immigrants from certain countries is shameful and cruel.
Yeah, you're the guy who shared a stage with an ISIS supporter 9 times and said that people in the West will have to live with terrorism. Go screw yourself.
To those fleeing persecution, terror, and war, Canadians will welcome you, regardless of your faith. Diversity is our strength.
Unless you're a single male, in which case you're not welcome.
How to make terrorists. 1. Ban everybody from a certain group from entering the country. 2. Wait.
So you're saying that Muslims will become terrorists because Trump offended them? Wait, I thought that terrorism had nothing to do with Islam. Yeah, that sounds pretty Islamophobic if you ask me. And why would it be a good idea anyway to let in so many people who so easily resort to terrorism, as you admitted in your tweet? You utter moron. This group of people will turn crazy violent if they don't get what they want. So you should let them in.
The assassination is taking such a long time.
Right, so Trump's the bigot because he's persecuting refugees under the false pretext of preventing terrorism, and yet you want him to be assassinated by a terrorist.
There are 1.5 billion Muslims in the world. If we were all dangerous, you wouldn't be around to sign a Muslim ban.
Is Trump supposed to be thankful to you for not assassinating him?
Trump order begins by invoking 9/11 3 times. 9/11 hijackers were from Egypt, Saudi Arabia, UAE, and Lebanon. Countries banned.
Well, A, they're considering adding more countries to the list, and B, you're saying that Trump's an unhinged dictator for banning Muslims, then asking him why he hasn't banned 100 million more Muslims.
Many people negatively affected by this policy are strong supporters of the US. They've done right, not wrong, and don't deserve to be rejected.
Yeah, and 21% of Syrian refugees support ISIS. But let's just let them all in because a few Iraqi translators got held up at the airport. But despite everything I've said, I agree. Banning people from countries because of their religion is horrible, right? I mean, who would do such a thing? Oh, I don't know. How about the 16 Islamic countries that ban Israelis because of their religion? And where was the outcry when one of those countries, Saudi Arabia, left 300,000 air-conditioned tents that could house 3 million refugees sitting empty? This is what it comes down to. The left and the mainstream media would rather see innocent Americans die at the hands of Islamic terrorists than allow Trump to be successful. The regressive left is 1,000 times more outraged about this temporary travel ban created by the Obama administration in the first place than they are about actual Islamic terror attacks, than they are about the mangled bodies of dead children on the streets, be they Westerners or Muslims. They're more outraged at this than all the Muslim acid attacks, honor killings, throwing gays off buildings, stoning female rape victims to death, put together. And they're all posing again, pretending to have the moral high ground because there were some protests. Protests that were bankrolled once again by George Soros, the guy who helped turn in Jewish refugees to the Nazis. Yeah, there's your moral frigging high ground. And that's the truth about the Muslim ban that isn't a Muslim ban.
That report's on infowars.com. And listen, his reports are getting 3, 4, 5 million views apiece. Let's make them 10, 15, 20 million views. I mean, this is really important. Understand, one of his videos on average is bigger than Bill O'Reilly's show. That's why I keep pointing out that Trump still hasn't completely gotten the fact that the dinosaur media is over. Unless he just wants to sit there and obsess over the elderly viewers at nursing homes watching Fox News. I just want to throw that. I'm not attacking Fox News. It's just that they're attacking Trump so much underhandedly that it makes me sick. They go, oh, Trump's lying about this and that. He's a liar. He's a liar about 3 million illegals voting. And then the so-called Republican goes, no, he's just mistaken. Let's not call him a liar when it's way more than 3 million. And we've gone over all that. So let's play this clip and then go to our guest. This is the German feminist march a weekend and a half ago, the day after the inauguration. And we have similar things that I witnessed and videotaped. We're going to put a larger video together soon of just them handing out American flag hijabs that women were putting on in solidarity with weird Islamic men handing it out, really getting off on it. I mean, this is the craziest crap, but it's a definite alliance between the Soros-controlled left and the Islamicists, and it's just despicable. And their attack on reality is even more despicable when all Trump's doing is signing executive orders to implement the law that Obama signed in to law 3 years ago. But let's go ahead and go to the Allah Akbar. They don't even let women do call to prayer in the Islamic countries. It's just a total cultural mutants. But let's go back to these women. I'm not trying to be mean to these women, but notice, they're all the women that are in charge. They all got short hair. They look like men. So they see in Islam that men are in charge. So you've got the butch women that are in charge, and the little lipstick pretty girls, they're down below looking at their man up on the stage. And again, I've been at a pool hall / bowling alley with one of my friends who's a super good-looking wife. She's a beauty queen. And we literally had women with cigarettes rolled up like James Dean, wearing white T-shirts, walk over with duck's ass haircuts, literally like they were in a 50s movie, and try to muscle in on his woman. She was laughing at them. I mean, it's like they walked up to, I mean, this guy is my buddy, and he can bench press 400 pounds, like something like 30 times in a row, okay? Okay? But imagine literal, like, 120-pound women, like, muscling in like they're James Dean with little skinny arms, with tattoos, with a cigarette pack. It's like, is this a frickin' joke? Drinking beer and, like, cussing at us and making comments. It was like super entertainment. These are crazy people, folks. And now they don't just roll cigarettes up under their arm like they're greasers from the 50s. Now they are going to become jihadis. I mean, these are the most leaderless, idiotic people in the galaxy. He'll be with us the rest of the hour. Matt Bracken is our guest. And again, he's a best-selling author. We'll tell you his website here in a moment. But you've heard me the last 15 minutes, enemiesforeignanddomestic.com. You've heard me here kind of breaking down the current insanity. You cannot make this up. They're so crazy. I know Soros is funding them, but this is over the top. And now we have every day the New York Times writer today, Vice magazine saying, what a coup looks like. Time to coup Trump. Time to kill Trump. And then nothing's being done. I think they're really organizing and still planning this. So you haven't been on since he was inaugurated. Your predictions have pretty much come true so far. Now that we're post, Trump being in 9 days, he's totally delivering. What do you expect next from the enemy?
Well, the media and their fellow travelers are completely in the blogosphere, are 100% virtue signaling for the assassination of Trump. That's what it's about. That's what Madonna said. That's what Ashley Judd basically, that's what they're all saying. You know, why hasn't he been assassinated yet? So they're sending the message out. You know, they're sending the frequency out to the emotionally unstable that they can be a hero to the left if they just go ahead and kill Trump.
Like we've said before, like fire ants or honeybees, the pheromones being released by Madonna blow up the White House already.
Right, and even during the campaign, I mean, just as a wild example, an English person, a Brit, traveled all the way to, I believe, California, tried to jump the barricade.
It was Nevada. Yeah. He came to kill Trump. He said he was coming to kill him.
But he was somebody who was, psychologists tend to separate killers into the organized and disorganized. You have to be somewhat organized to get yourself organized all the way from the UK to a Trump rally.
To get a gun,
it's not like he's, slobbering idiot. But imagine how many people, a little bit more organized than that, are ready to go off. And with the, I think that the what I'm calling for next, I call this the SDS to Weather Underground movement, just like in 1968.
I agree. This is Weather Underground Part 2.
Right. When it looked like Hubert Humphrey might come after Lyndon Baines Johnson, this meant that the Democrats would still be in charge of the federal government. That's when Bill Ayers was a leader of the Students for the Democratic Society. But when Nixon came in and, the State Department and other federal agencies were revamped by Republicans, they went paranoid, they went underground, they split into cells. And what happened? Guys split into cells and go underground because they're afraid that, Jeff Sessions is going to have them all rounded up. When they go underground, they become paranoid. They're looking out through the blinds, for
Well, by the way, I mean, they should be paranoid, but right now they're really arrogant, openly calling for murder in a crazed mode.
And we can see what happened with the so-called, and I'm using the mainstream media hysteria, the so-called Muslim ban. They can get thousands of people out to airports immediately. I mean, like within hours. So
they've got a list of over 20 million people. Soros has a database of 20 million through Move On, and they hit the button now. And what I've noticed at all these demonstrations is they're led by Muslims. Muslims are leading in this country an insurrection. It's incredible.
Right, and I saw in, I forget if it might have been in Dallas, Fort Worth, but they were doing the call to prayer, the lined up like magnetic filings, towards their cult object over there in Mecca, with the butts in the air, right in American airports. So at any point, they could shut airports down. I mean, so if there's something bigger, and which is where I'd like to kind of talk about Quebec, because I think people are not seeing.
Oh, you mean the attack on the Muslims? They've spun that this is a terror attack on Muslims. Some outlets are even saying because of Trump. No, it's jihadis killing other Muslims. Break it down.
Right. But there's another layer to this. Now, the Daily Beast, you can see what the frequency they're on is. They're totally on receive mode. The Daily Beast actually ran a fake news story showing, two white guys like at a rifle range with their names as the shooters. They had to take it down after a couple of hours. So some fake news site puts up, two French-Canadian white guys with guns. Daily Beast has got it running immediately.
Soros could have activated, had millions of people on the street. The burn down of the cities begins.
I think that what happened in Quebec was an abortive false in Quebec City was a FUBAR false flag operation. Typically, suicide jihadists don't do these kind of things like a commando. Omar Mateen didn't wear a black mask and have a getaway plan. The San Bernardino killers didn't wear black masks and have a getaway plan.
No, I get it. If you're going to run a false flag against Muslims, you obviously have Muslims do it, but then they get caught. I noticed they were in tactical gear and covered and ran. They usually kill themselves when it's a real Islamic attack. Well, you're onto something big here. Break this down. Start over. Take your time to break this down.
Yeah, some of the initial reports were that they were using AK-47s, yet there were only, I believe, 6 killed, 8 wounded, something like that. Might be my numbers might be changing as people die in the hospital. An AK-47 loaded with 30 rounds fired into a crowd of people is going to kill and injure a lot more people than that. I put this down to reporters reflexively calling any kind of a semi-automatic rifle an AK-47. I saw somewhere, I couldn't find it again. I should have been taking notes this morning. It might have been actually an SKS or a pair of SKS rifles they were using, which are loaded from a stripper clip with 10 rounds apiece. Several of the reports that I read said that the shooters had to stop and reload frequently. One of the reports that I read said that one of the mosque congregants tried to, assault the ambush, counterattack during a reload, and got shot for it. And no matter what your religion is, if you attack a shooter like that, you are a hero in my book, period. So their plan for a mass attack, like on the level of San Bernardino or Orlando, might have gone off the rails due to their lack of familiarity with the weapons, inability to reload correctly. There were reports they went in and out trying to reload. Finally, they fled. The Alexander Bissonnette, the blue-eyed French Canadian, possible convert to Islam. I'm thinking that the other guy, Mohammed Kadir, the Moroccan, he might have been planning to use this little kind of like dweeby-looking, the guy with the chess club-looking dude, you know, his Facebook picture with the chess pieces. He might have been planned to be the patsy, you know, the white guy found at the scene. Not sure if he's, you know, already on the radar as a convert or not. So he might have been a secret convert that Mohammed Kadir was going to use as the patsy, you know, the white French Canadian. Then they get away,
it certainly
and the whole
fits
world
in.
goes crazy.
We got to go to break, Matt Bracken. We're going to come back and talk more about this straight ahead. Then we're going to look at more of this articles coming out saying, kill Trump. We need a major event. We've got to take action, now. We need to have a coup. What are they going to do next? Because clearly they're arrogant. Look at how Brennan outgoing attacked Trump. They're very arrogant. They're planning something.
We're on the march. The empire's on the run. Alex Jones and the GCN Radio Network.
Now, I want to go back to Darren McBreen and Margaret Howell. You had one of these precious snowflakes was telling us a very personal clip about how he felt about this and what he was going to do. Let's go back to Darren.
That's right.
And Margaret.
This is an urgent message from a liberal in distress. Okay. So we take you now to an underground bunker deep in the heart of the land of idiocracy.
Well, here we are, folks, at the end of everything. Human civilization as we know it is coming crashing down. The world is over. Donald Trump will be sworn in this week. And then it's all over.
It's all over, guys.
I'm so scared. I'm so alone and so scared.
This can't be real.
We
Please tell me
elected
that.
for the first time someone who is selfish, dishonest, egotistical.
For the first time.
When we could have had Hillary Clinton instead. And now we're going to pay the price. We can survive this, okay? We can survive it, but you have to get underground.
Sorry.
And I am at my mom's house where I've been temporarily rooming for the last 31 years.
This guy's
And I'm down in the basement. As you can see, I've made kind of a bunker for myself here in the basement. You've got to get underground now because we don't have a lot of time.
some storable foods.
Look, based on everything that I've read on Facebook, right after the inauguration, Donald Trump is going to drop a nuclear bomb on Mexico. And then after that, the full-scale genocide of women and transgender people and gender non-conforming people will begin.
Gender non-conforming.
After that, according to my sources, Donald Trump, at the behest of Putin, will deliberately dump 100 billion gallons of oil into the ocean in order to kill all of the dolphins. And then, based on what I've heard from people like Keith Olbermann, he is going to blow up Jupiter with a death ray.
A death ray.
And finally,
This will be on
his last
CNN
act
tonight.
of cruelty and sadism, the last straw for all mankind will be when he blocks CNN reporters on Twitter. This is all going to
Well, they've already
unfold
been
very
blocked at the
quickly,
YMCA, so.
You need to prepare yourself now, and if you have not been stocking supplies and foods, you got to do that. I have all of the supplies I'm going to need to survive the apocalypse right here, and I wanted to show you a few of the things I have.
On sale right
You're
now.
obviously going to need a lot of non-perishable food items, such as yogurt, vegan, plant-based, of course, other survival foods,
Vegan.
pita chips, gluten-free, obviously.
That's a great parody piece. But let's talk about what you really do
McBreen, I don't
need.
think
was a
that's
joke?
going to stop you from that death ray.
Damn. Okay.
The globalist great error is to believe that as they collapse humanity, they end up on top. The truth is, humanity is coming down fast, but we're miles above them on our journey to hell.
You're listening to The Alex Jones Show.
the throngs of human trash that the globalists have organized into these mobs of weird feminists with the men all walking behind them, and they announce, I walk behind my woman. It's the opposite of equality, and then the women take their orders from weird Islamicist men of the most radical Wahhabist sects, and I saw it on the ground in D.C. when I was there, not this Saturday, but last Saturday, 8 days ago. I was doing live Facebook mentions, and I'm like, these people are walking by saying, F you, white male. They're almost all white women. They're putting on hijabs. They have hijab signs saying solidarity, with Islam. And the men are all walking behind the women, very proud of it. And then we caught it on video. It's so crazy. And I said, it's like Muslims are running it. And then it turns out the main organizers is a woman who supports Sharia law and calls that the empowerment for women. And the other main organizer is a guy who's tied into Hamas and all this stuff. And you're like, really? In what alternate dimension do spoiled, rotten Western women bitch about the cradle of them being spoiled and then want to not join Islam, but like bring it in because it's anti-America or it's anti-Western? I mean, it is just mind-blowing. Again, if you're a radio listener, you hear me saying all this. If you go to infowars.com, you can see the live video feeds. We're actually showing you all of this. And you look at the women. You kind of have two castes, I've noticed. Bracken's the expert on Islam. I just noticed it as a layperson that studies this. Most women are like total slaves. There's always kind of like a house slave woman who's kind of the boss. You'll even see them kind of commanding other women around. When I was there in D.C., I saw this lady at the airport commanding a bunch of men. Let's put her back on screen. It's funny, the Daily Caller talks about how she runs the whole show. I saw her ordering people around. And man, she looks evil. It's like there's a commitment to domination and enslavement. It's just so creepy. It's like watching that husband and wife in Syria getting their little 7-year-old ready to blow herself up. She looks so sad, but they make her do it. I mean, it's just, my gut says, I want to fight that lady. My gut says, that's an enemy right there. And it's just so twisted. It's so twisted. And they bully. They got studies in Iran. 80% of the people don't want to be under it. Most Muslims actually don't want to be under the radical Islam or Orthodox Islam. But the point is they're run by really bad people. So Islam itself, from the head towards the tail, just gets more rotten as you get towards the head. Now I'm going to go back to Mr. Bracken here in a moment. Be sure and check out his website, enemiesforeignanddomestic.com. Check out his books there where he breaks all this down. I'm going to get on an airplane tomorrow and fly out to be on the Joe Rogan Experience, probably the biggest podcast out there, where the show is just a podcast. The words, something like 20 million people download it a week or watch it, so I'm excited to be on that. They talk about me basically every week on the deal, and I've been friends with Joe since 1998, and it's just never happened because he wants people in studio. He's been on our show many times. So I'll obviously interview him, too, while I'm out there. So that's going to happen. Reach out to all his great listeners and viewers with what's happening in the world. Because Joe's gone from, 17, 18 years ago kind of laughing at me to now just going, man, this is scary. It's not coming true. It was already true. Now it's just being openly distributed. But globalism was always there. Now it's just going global and really taking over. We're going to end a big special this week. It's 25% off our amazing Alexa Pure gravity-fed stainless steel water filtration system. Is the very best out there. Already a great price at the normal price, but 25% off, depending on the unit, $130, $140, $119, $200-something. We've got big units, small units. They're amazing. And the Alexa Pure Breeze, again, $149. Normally $220-something. Our regular discount's $199. It's $149.96 right now. Comparable units are $400, $500. So definitely check it out today, InfoWarsStore.com. A lot of our nutraceuticals are about to sell out, like Super Male Vitality. We got 10% off on Secret 12, methylcobalamin, vitamin B12, now back in stock, taken sublingually under the tongue. It's amazing. Check that out. But here's what I'm going to tell you. I'm going to leave it at that. No one can deny that InfoWars is the most effective right now against the New World Order, other than President Trump and Drudge. So it's like President Trump, Drudge, and then InfoWars. And our great team here. We need your prayer. We need your support. We need for all of you to go to InfoWarsStore.com and get the great items you need, like water filtration, Patriot T-shirts. I cannot stress enough to you, if you wear a Trump is my president shirt out in public, how many like-minded folks you're going to meet. You'll also meet people yelling at you. You got to go out and exercise your free speech or lose it. I cannot stress enough to you how important it is. So it's all a win-win when you get the products. So I want to commend you all for your support and ask you again to realize how far we've already come together in this fight, and to think about shopping with the good guys when you get high-quality storable foods or shortwave radios or tents or thermal gear or lowers for ARs or Molon Labe koozies from stuff that costs $3 to stuff that costs $1,000. We've got solar generator systems, you name it, made in America, classic woven flags. We've got Citizen Press T-shirts. And so much more. A lot of new T-shirts at InfoWarsStore.com or call toll-free 888-253-3139. But look at how far we've come. Look, I only plan to hire 3 or 4 more camera people and editors and maybe a few more reporters. I'm going to open a Washington bureau because it's the right thing to do in D.C. Now that we're retaking the country, we need to be at that key beachhead battle. I'm going to be up there at least once a month now. I'm just going to let you know that point blank. I'm going to create a larger bureau here in Austin, one in London, because history's happening, and we're so effective. I meant to just wake people up and see other people pop up that would be more effective than us. I don't like having to organize stuff. I don't like having to do all this. But I'm not complaining at the same time. I just know it's my destiny. I'm doing it. I'm going to all out. We, quite frankly, don't have the money to launch all these expansions. But every time I expand on faith, and I don't mean to be cheesy, it's true, my gut knows we're going to build it. It's going to be successful, and I'm going to pour our reserves, our backups. If I have to, I'll sell my house, okay? I'm going to do this because people give their lives for the basic freedoms. We're now facing a naked enemy that openly admits it wants to enslave us and kill our president. They tried to kill Nigel Farage 3 times, folks. That's why he got out of politics. And at least got out of, about to take over Europe. I mean, 3 times they tried to kill him. And that's kind of off the record, but he's talked about it some now, so I can talk about it. But I know the details. He's been told, you shut up or you're dead. Well, he's come back from retirement. He's not shutting up. And his family's like, please, we need you. We haven't had you in 20 years. And I'm not complaining here. Just folks understand, this is a war. They're not in the New York Times, the Washington Post, and in today in Vice magazine saying what would happen within minutes and hours of a coup in America, and all these Jezebels calling for Trump's death. They wouldn't be doing this if they hadn't been given a green light. You wouldn't have people like McCain calling for Trump's removal and the former CIA director saying he's despicable, remove him, if they didn't have some powerful people behind them. They've gotten in some rooms. They're all hyped up. The word's gone out. We're taking over. We're going to kill. And you know what? I'm not looking for trouble, but here's the deal. I'm 100% committed. And we're doing everything we can to affect the battle space and informational. But the problem is, I know we're going to wipe these people out if a shooting war starts. They're such crap. It's not even worth losing our patriots in a fight. But you know what? That's what waters the tree. So I don't sit up here and shoot my mouth off about violence all day like you people do, but just understand, people are making a list, they're marking it twice. I'm not. The guys that know how to do it are. And all of you are in for a big surprise within hours of you killing Trump or pulling something. You just signed your own you-know-what warrant. Matt Bracken, take over for the rest of the hour. I've said my pieces, but I want you to talk about that and just all these other angles. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was going back to Quebec City. I think it's really important for people to understand something, because we just dodged a bullet up there, because I'm convinced this was meant to be a major false flag operation.
While they had their people in the streets, while they were activating them?
Yeah, I need to use an analogy, and I don't mean to use this analogy for anything to do with explosives. It's just to understand how this works. If you're setting off a fertilizer bomb, which is, ammonium nitrate and fuel oil, ANFO, you can't throw a match in it. The match will go out. You can't even throw a blasting cap in it. The blasting cap will just blow some ANFO around. You need to have a progression. The match lights the fuse lights the blasting cap, lights a stick of dynamite. That is enough to kick off the ANFO and make the big explosion. What we saw in Quebec City, the way I look at it, it was intended to be one of those booster charges. You need to accelerate the hysteria, the panic.
So it was a misfire.
It was a misfire. Exactly. That's why they went from Daily Beast at the crack of dawn this morning showing 2 white French guys with rifles to having to retract it.
They were
to
already
all of a
primed.
sudden, right. They were primed. And the people were already at the airports. Imagine how easy it would be to shut this country down with people just acting a little bit more hysterical at the airports. The country would come to a halt. So if imagine, and this is what we have to, the reason I'm talking about this is next hour or next week, this can happen. And we need people to be tuned in for the likelihood that this will be a false flag operation. And unlike Quebec City, it might be a very successful false flag operation where there's a white patsy, with the smoking AK-47 dead outside the mosque.
By the way, you were saying this from memory. We got to find the tape 6 months ago.
Yeah, it's going to happen where it'll be somebody shooting it from an overpass.
You're right. Their only move is to make themselves the victim. You're absolutely right, Matt. It's not a question of if but when.
While they're already in the streets, because then it'll go from in the streets to doing something that is extremely disruptive, such as storming through airport the airport security, which would absolutely just stop air traffic around.
Which they mean to plunge the stock market with. Soros made moves against the stock market today in conjunction with demonizing Trump, so they're already trying that. In fact, it appears they had it all set with this false flag. You're probably right. And the riots they already had primed for a stock market plunge to blame Trump, but it failed.
Right, and the moment is lost because gradually the new media gets the word out that these 6 countries were just Obama's failed terror states. These are nations like Libya and Sudan and Yemen that we don't, or Somalia. Nobody that's useful to our country comes out of there.
Well, they don't even really have real airports, right? I mean, places like Somalia.
You can't go there and stay alive. If you're a white Christian, you'd be dead or kidnapped in a week. But if this attack in Quebec City had worked, God help us, right now the country would be if let's say 50 Muslims had been killed and there was a blue-eyed Quebecois outside dead, which I think is one of the ways that this scenario was intended to play out. I think that Mohammed Qadir, I don't see him as the mastermind. It's possible. I see him as, Patsy 1 and Patsy 2, Bissonnette and Qadir. But there's some Dr. Raoul X out there, that's organizing these, and it won't be the last. Believe me, this will not.
Well, I'm so glad I got you on because I knew something was fishy. But no, you had how they tried to plunge the stock market this morning, how they put out the fake news, and the site you mentioned is synced with Soros. They got caught in a dry run, or it misfired.
I think it was a misfire, and the left will try to just bury the story. I mean, it's amazing. At 10 o'clock, I was just right at the top of the hour, 10 o'clock this morning Eastern. I was flipping between.
That's your other big tell. The fact that they jump on it immediately and then it evaporates show it didn't go the way they wanted.
It just didn't. It's like an unstory, a non-story. If this had been a white guy with an AK-47 dead outside of a mosque with 50 dead Muslims inside, the people that are at the airports now would be shutting the airports down.
And it would legitimize all them out there. Oh, look, Trump supporter